Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Macabre Matinee with Craig and Sean. As always, I'm Craig Lance,
And I'm Sean, bearded Capelin.
and this is where we give you our spoiler warning. We're about to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street for The Dream Master. And if you haven't seen this movie and you don't want to be spoiled, now is your one and only chance. Well, I mean, I guess technically you can do it, but it's your one and only warning
That's right.
to pause pause the show, go watch the movie, and then come back and listen in to what our brilliant or lackluster thoughts are on this movie.
It really leans either one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, one way or the other, you're going to get some thoughts, and where they fall on the genius spectrum is up to you to decide.
That's right.
So, as I said, this is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. This was released in 1988, written by William Kotzwinkle, Brian Helgeland, and Jim and Ken Wheat. It was directed by Rennie Harlan. And this has, of course, Robert Englund returning as Freddy, Rodney Eastman returning as Joey, Ken Segoes returning as Kincaid, and then recasting Kristen with the talented and lovely Tuesday Knight,
Right.
Lisa Wilcox as Alice, Andres Jones as Rick, and Danny Hassel as Dan. And I'm sorry I had to list pretty much the entire staff, but they all have pretty significant roles in the movie, I would say.
Oh, indeed.
And I guess it was never really clear why they had to recast Kristen. Some debate on whether it was her Patricia Arquette's agent asking for too much money, or which is usually the case in these movies. But
Yeah, there was also
um,
talk of like some other movie scheduling conflicts, something about a pregnancy, which I think got debunked. So, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, she did not return, though.
yeah. So either way, Tuesday Night did an admirable job filling in.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's get to the story. This starts with Kristen dreaming about Nancy's house or Freddy's house. I don't even know what to call it anymore because apparently it is now Freddy's house and
Yeah.
it's haunted or dream haunted or something. So she decides to go into the house because, why not? And as she starts working her way through the house and realizing that Freddy is trying to make a comeback, she calls her old warrior pals, Joey and Kincaid, in to help using her dream powers where she can call people into her own dreams. You might remember that from the last episode, by the way, or
Yeah.
the last movie, by the way.
Right. Right. Direct continuation. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which is something that's not always done in horror movies, but
True.
hey, we got a direct one in this one. So they are startled awake when Kincaid's dog attacks Kristen, waking them all up. The next morning, she picks up her boyfriend Rick and his sister Alice and takes them to school. When they get to school, we meet the rest of Freddy's victims. I mean, the rest of their friends. And Kincaid and Joey finally meet up with Kristen and tell her that she's just got to quit dreaming about Freddy. There's more better things to dream about, and that she is just going to bring him back because, it's just that easy to quit dreaming about Freddy once you start.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, you can totally control that, and that's why these movies make so much sense. So that night, when Kincaid falls asleep, he awakens in the junkyard where Freddy's bones are buried. And Kincaid's dog, Jason, because why not,
Of course.
pisses fire on Freddy's grave,
Because why not?
which, yeah, exactly, which of course, for some reason, opens up Freddy's grave, also because why not? And
Well, if according to as we've talked about before, how like the writers and usually after the fact want to come out and explain it. So here's their explanation, whether you buy it or not. The Jason name they didn't acknowledge, but the reason it pisses fire is because it's a representation of a hellhound that shows truly how evil Freddy is by being resurrected from the flames of hell.
yeah,
Take that
okay,
for
we'll
what you
go with
will,
that.
but that's what they say.
Okay. And so Freddy's body kind of grows itself back together, and he is resurrected and proceeds to kill off Kincaid and then Joey. And we know that Kristen is next because, as he puts it, she is the last of the original Elm Street brats.
Right.
So when he goes after Kristen, she accidentally calls Alice into the dream, and Freddy then in turn kills Kristen. But as Kristen dies, she transfers her powers of being able to call people into dreams over to Alice. Using Alice's new powers, Freddy eventually picks off each of her friends, leaving Dan and Alice as the lone two survivors. As Dan and Alice race to try to save one of their friends, Freddy causes them to get in a car accident. Dan is taken into surgery, and Alice rushes home to go to get some sleep so that she can help help Dan battle Freddy, since he's going into surgery and is going to be under sedation.
Right.
Alice drugs herself and shows up just in time to help Dan. However, as the battle begins, Dan is awakened by the doctors, who apparently are the quickest surgeons on the planet and give the lowest dose of anesthesia ever. So Alice ends up battling Freddy using new talents that she has collected from all of her friends, but ultimately she beats Freddy using her own knowledge. I'm sure there's some sort of hidden moral story in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
death by looking at myself in a mirror. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah.
She uses a nursery rhyme and, as Sean said, a mirror to defeat Freddy. And as Freddy dies, all the souls of the people he has killed escape and are free to go on to their afterlife.
Yep.
So that's a pretty down and dirty synopsis of the film. I know sometimes I go a little bit deeper into it, but honestly, without just describing every death, there wasn't a whole lot more to the substance of the movie.
It's true.
So
it's a not going to say retread, but we are revisiting the dreams within, or the power within dreams. You know, we do have a lot of returning characters. As you said, like Kincaid was the first one who got apparently super fucking nerfed. Cause, I mean, he pushed over a car and couldn't do shit else. You know, he was super strong in the last movie. You know, we think he'd slam a whole car on him. You know, try to get up a fight. So he got taken down quick. I will say though, going back to the resurrection of Freddy, as weird as it is having a dog pee flames, I really like the kind of the reverse footage of a melting body into reforming him.
Yeah.
It was a good effect. And you're going to hear that a lot. There's a lot of good effects and some good ideas and a mediocre story to me. But
yeah, I agree. The effects throughout the movie were really done rather well.
Right. And yeah, and then so as he picks off the kids one by one, there's like, again, we get a little bit some basic, like Kincaid basically just got stabbed in the chest. You know, nothing unique to him necessarily. You know, so just a good old stabbing, leaving a message.
So before you move from Kincaid, one of the things that bothered me about his death is that it didn't materialize in the real world the way they had previously. He just dies on his bed.
Yeah,
it was really weird because usually you would go back and his chest would have been sliced open or something in the.
Very fair point. Yeah, I guess I kind of overlooked that because what I do like, at least right before the death, is him getting what I call the trailer moment. You know, yelling up into the sky, Freddy's back. but the pan out to being like the whole world is that trash. Is that car lot thing?
Yeah,
that's a cool image.
The junkyard.
Yeah, the junkyard. And again, cool image to a lame scene of, like, you know, the Freddy's back.
Yeah, like you said, it's kind of felt like it was in there for the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Which you get, but again, a very good image to a, you know, stab into the chest. But then we get Joey, who had previously fell victim to a hot nurse. He now falls.
Yeah, Joey's got a thing for hot women.
As I think most people do. This time he died by waterbed tits. And
yeah.
Which I hope the parents were more than just shocked at his death. Like, how the fuck did he get in there? But I'll give it that though. That was a creative kill, at least.
It was creative.
And it's one I've remembered for a
Yeah,
good little
it's one
while.
that you kind of sticks with you
Yeah,
through the years.
I think so.
Um, yeah, there were some pretty cool, like, I want to say cameos or things like that in here, kind of
Oh yeah,
Easter eggs.
yeah.
Um, about 35 minutes into the movie, there's a magazine in Kristen's room with Johnny Depp on it. That was pretty funny.
Nice little shout out back to part one's cast. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We
In
do have a.
Kincaid's room.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
going to say in Kincaid's room, there's a original Hills Have Eyes poster hanging on the wall.
Really? Okay, I missed that
Yeah.
one. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
nice, nice. I was going to point out it's very brief, and you would not know unless you really know this woman's not body at work, but literal body, or you read it in the. She did get credit in the thing. A horror icon for some, I guess, definitely. Very nice lady that we had dinner with, Leanna Quigley, is in this film.
I did not catch that. Where is she in it?
She is the woman that was paid to be in Freddy's chest and rub her boobs up against the transparent silicone or whatever effect it did when the bodies are stretching, and there's one that's a clear pair of tits. That,
That's
that is Miss
hilarious.
Leanna Quigley, who we, like, as I said, we had a very nice dinner with at our friend's Not Just Another Comic Con convention.
Well, and Tuesday Night, who stars in this
We
one,
did
is
too.
Kristen.
Yeah.
Well, she was supposed to be at his most recent one
Right.
and was not there.
Oh,
So,
that's right. She was
was
only
she at a
scheduled.
preview? Yeah, she's been scheduled 2 or 3 times,
Uh,
but
yeah.
because of the COVID and pandemics and stupid things going on in the world,
Right.
that they've had to postpone it. So
See,
hopefully, we'll get to meet her shortly.
Yeah. See, I wasn't 100% because unfortunately, usually my work schedule, I rarely
Yeah,
get to hang out afterwards. I did manage to make it to the Quigley's dinner with Quigley's, but yeah, I know y'all get to hang out with a lot of the guests, and I unfortunately rarely get to. So I wasn't sure if she had made it
yeah.
there or not because I know I hadn't had a chance to meet her personally, but still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not one that I've met personally
Okay,
yet.
so
So
probably hadn't made it yet, but I know she. Yeah, you're right though.
yeah,
She is on the docket to be at that con eventually. A little note about this one: highest grossing Nightmare on Elm Street film, not counting the verses, because that's kind of both their films.
yeah.
But not counting verses, this made the highest amount of money of all the Nightmare movies, and
Which
yeah.
also,
Oh, go ahead, go
which
ahead.
I was going to say, also caused the worst part of this movie, but because it grossed so much,
Yeah,
New Line decided they wanted to create a TV show.
they did.
Freddy's Nightmares which was an anthology horror series hosted by Freddy Krueger,
Right.
and it's about as good as it sounds. So
Yeah, Freddy telling bad Tales from the Crypt jokes, and which again,
yeah,
this is the decline into witty, goofy Freddy, which again works sometimes, but sometimes a little overdone. Uh,
yeah, I felt like it worked pretty well in this movie.
Overall, like it wasn't like we haven't hit
Yeah,
Freddy's Dead level of bad yet, but
yeah,
this is Robert Englund's favorite film of the franchise.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and you can tell, I feel like he really had a lot of fun in this one because they were starting to allow, as you said, I think we mentioned it before, that he kind of came from not necessarily comedic roots, but he always kind of played those characters, right, that had a little bit of wit to them, like kind of a smart ass
Yeah.
characters in the past.
Yep.
So I think he was having fun and getting to do that a little bit more with Freddy.
Yeah, and there's some very iconic Freddy scenes in this movie,
Yeah,
which we'll probably get to here in a minute. But
yeah. Was the shark fin claw your iconic scene for you, buddy?
no, no,
Yeah,
no.
that beach dream sequence was pretty unique.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty good though. Also in the hospital, when Kristen's in the hospital early in the movie,
Yeah,
there is a PA announcement over the public addressing, of course, for Dr. Shea, which is a reference to the producer Robert Shea and his wife Lynn Shea.
oh, okay.
And Lynn, as the teacher from the first movie, and
Right,
as
right.
the elder woman from the Insidious movies. So
Nice,
just some
nice.
fun little facts about this movie, some fun little Easter eggs they hit in there. But
Right.
as far as the quality of the film goes, yeah, the story's a little hit and miss. I thought it was filmed really, really well.
Oh, absolutely. Production on this was really well done. Because again, whether lackluster story or not for you, like again, we talked about the weird death of just a sudden nursery rhyme, and apparently Freddy's never looked in a mirror his entire time he's been haunting these people. and but
Yeah, well, maybe
yeah,
you have to say the nursery rhyme while you're doing it. I don't
yeah,
know.
right. But what it did, but again, back to that production though, what it led to is a very cool death. Like we already mentioned how there was obviously a naked woman, Leanna Quigley, in his body, but the arms reaching out and like that effect was really fucking cool. I really like it.
Yeah,
It just unfortunately was tied to just kind of a okay, wrap this up kind of ending, of how to take care of him. I guess
yeah,
there's only so many ways
it
to
was very.
kill a immortal demon. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it did very much have that feel like we don't know how to get rid of him. Let's just make some shit up and
Right.
whatever happens. But that's kind of been the way through the whole thing. It's through the first four movies. It's like whatever the characters believe will kill him will actually
Uh,
kill him.
that's a fair point. Yeah. I mean, literally, I guess the first movie she just turned her back on him. So yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Well, and there's a great part in it when I don't remember not Sheila, one of the other characters, the
Mm.
one that's the weightlifter, the
Uh,
exercise gal.
Debbie.
Yeah, Debbie. When Debbie uh, looks at him and says, "I don't believe in you," and you're like, "Okay, well they're going back down this route."
Right.
And then he looks at her and says, "But I believe in you." So um, kind of like it's
Yeah.
kind of like one of those moments in a vampire movie when they pull out the cross and okay, here I've got the cross. This will stop you. And the vampire says, "Ah, but you don't believe."
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of that. Okay, well they're going to use what worked in the first movie, doesn't work in this movie, but I kind of have to go with maybe they're just going with whoever the hero slash heroine of the movie is, whatever they believe is
Right.
what will kill him.
Yeah, that's
So
fair. That's fair because that does fall in line with the previous film. So yeah, that's a fair theory for sure.
yeah, um, there. I really liked when Freddy was resurrected, not just the scene of him being resurrected, but when he's chasing Kincaid through the junkyard,
Yeah.
and at one point you just see his shadow,
Oh yes.
and
No.
it's
No.
just
Yeah.
straight up the Jason. I mean the Freddy pose.
Hmm.
The one arm sloped to the side, and everything about it is just a cool moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because that again, great cinematography, great effects. Just like I said, not this is and this. Don't get it wrong. We're nearing the worst territory, and this is nowhere near those. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
just I guess following Dream Warriors is hard for me. Because as if y'all watched our last video, yeah, I ranked that 5 star. That's
yeah.
arguably my favorite of the series, and hard to follow up. But again, cool ideas, some cool concepts in there, even just, and stuff that has stuck with me. You know what I mean? Like just the again, like the resurrection scene, the death scene. For some reason, the people sausages in the pizza. I've always remembered that. For some reason, that
Oh,
always stuck with me.
in his little snarky comment where he says, "I love soul food," as he's eating, one of the kids and the
Right.
pizza.
And again, I think the unique deaths that are linked to each teen also stand out
Yeah,
very well.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, yeah. Go ahead. What were
oh,
you gonna
I was
say?
gonna say just like without revealing, we'll get to kill of the week a little bit later, but just yeah, how from the asthma to the fear of bugs to the love of naked women that killing Joey. Like there were some like deaths that were fit to each, and I that's why I think I really are some of my favorite deaths of the franchise are when they are unique. Even the I mean, it's late '80s. We've already gotten like No Retreat, No Surrender to the Karate Kid. So we got the karate guy. Man, I'm forgetting his name all
Yep,
of a sudden. Uh,
Rick.
Rick. The fight being, it was. like obviously we're not expecting a Freddy full on martial arts showdown with him. Although I still think this is where he learned his moves that he uses on Jason in the Versus film. um, but still,
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
yeah, but still, just the whole fight and him messing with him and all his martial art training, the focus thing, him just kind of taunting him and cheating. Basically, when he got disarmed to make that glove fly, you can't train for that.
Mm.
and
What?
but yeah, but
I
still,
mean,
yeah.
Rick's really bad taekwondo couldn't save him from that.
Look, sir, it was fantastic taekwondo that he learned by watching Bruce Lee do Jeet Kune Do somehow. Uh,
Yeah.
with his Karate Kid headband with the Rising Sun logo, and every typical '80s bad martial art flick thrown into one character who
Yes.
who just really wanted to be Ferris Bueller, who took taekwondo lessons on the weekend. But not my favorite character. But again, I did like though his relationship with his sister. Like actually,
Yeah,
I felt they had really good chemistry as siblings.
I agree. I actually thought the acting in this film was really good.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably uh, second, of course, to Dream Warrior at
Right.
this point, but I thought the acting was super solid in this
Oh, well,
movie.
I'll even be honest though. As far as just acting, like story aside, how they're delivering their lines, I think a lot of these
Yeah,
actors were better than even Dream Warriors. But like what I love about Dream Warriors is the cheesiness of a lot of them. But like,
yeah, I think you're right. I think that one gets a level up, maybe for me, just because Patricia Arquette's so good in it.
true, absolutely
But
true. But
Tuesday Night did really, really well, as I said,
yeah,
recasted in that role. So, I overall, yeah, I thought the acting was really good. Even the guy Dan, that had never been in anything previously.
oh, okay,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, he did well. I felt like the core group of people. Again, it's a typical 80s 90s slasher film where it's full of stereotypes,
yeah. You
right?
got your.
Whatever.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, I was gonna say, if you're the jock, you're the jock. If you're
Right.
the, you're watching The Breakfast Club in a horror movie,
Yeah,
essentially.
you got the eccentric group of teens who have nothing alike, but for some reason are all friends.
Yeah, and none of them should be friends,
Right,
you
right.
know.
Yeah, until they spend like you said, a Saturday in detention and writing about their lives. A very Breakfast Club
Ex-
get together.
exactly. I went through high school, and that's the most far fetched part of this entire story.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, again, the kill count is fairly low for a slasher film,
Yeah,
but I think what the Nightmare on Elm Street movies do, instead of focusing on a high kill count, is they focus on tension for the kills,
right.
and I think that they do it pretty well. And as you said, just the kind of how they tailor each kill for each person
Yeah,
and
yeah,
their character. Um, sometimes they kill the tension with the comedy a little bit, and the snarkiness of Freddy.
right.
Like, there was really no tension in Rick's death. It was just kind of funny because he's just doing martial arts moves to an invisible
Right.
Freddy. you know. So, but some of them are, there's a lot of tension in them. So, as per usual in a lot of these movies, the most tension is at the very beginning.
Right.
And I don't know why they do that. I mean, it's like the first kill and the last battle is where all the tension is. But, I guess it's just the trope for the horror
Yeah.
genre.
It does tend to feel like okay, we know and I know this film particularly had a lot of rewrites apparently during development. A lot of storylines changed and dropped. But this one does feel like when you get the feeling sometime in a lot of different movies too, where it's like, okay, we have a cool idea of Freddy coming back and killing the kids from the previous ones that survived, but where do we go from
Right.
there? But then it's film, and then we know
Well,
we want to kill them, but and they have to kind of make it up. Not as strong of a idea for the middle.
so this movie also was filmed during a writer's strike.
Oh, okay.
And, and so during that strike, when they had to make changes to the script,
Right.
apparently Rennie Harlan, the director, didn't speak real English real well. So
Oh.
some of it, like the scene where they're watching the video of Kristen after her death,
Mm-hmm.
that was added late into production during the strike, and so the two kids just ad libbed that entire scene. Allison and
Oh.
yeah, so um, that might explain a little bit of the kind of I don't want to say incoherency because it is a solid, coherent story.
Right.
I don't really necessarily go into horror movies looking for deep, especially slasher movies, looking for deep subtext in my plot. As long as the story feels like it fits together, I'm usually okay.
Right.
But it might explain a little bit of that kind of quirkiness that this movie has. Um, Also, I noticed that when I was looking up the credits for the writers, Jim and Ken Wheat, who are credited as writing this, when they in the original credits, they were credited under an alias. So I have a feeling they probably broke the strike
Right.
to write it, and so they wouldn't put their own name on there because they didn't want to get outed. But
Oh
they
wow.
wrote it as Scott Pierce, an alias, and they both use that name.
Hmm.
So if you watch the movie, it's going to say written by so and so, so and so, so and so, and Scott Pierce instead of Jim and Ken Wheat. So there was a lot going on at that time, so I have a feeling that kind of affected it.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um,
would have to have because yeah, when you're
right,
dealing with people literally having to walk off the set because, like like a union job, the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild, they tell you to stop if you want to keep working after the strike. You got to stop, and
that's right.
that would 100% mess with production of this. So yeah, I mean, and you can feel that
It,
even like the writer strikes have happened a few times in my lifetime, and
right.
you can always tell when like a series significantly changes in like tone or quality and as a result. So yeah, maybe that would probably that does explain a lot about this.
Well, and then if you have a director, as you did in this case, that his English at that time was fairly broken.
Right.
So there's probably a little bit of a communication thing going on, even when you're trying to rewrite parts of the script to get the movie you want out.
Right.
So, and apparently, Rennie Harlan, they told him no, and he just wouldn't give up. He just kept showing back up at New Line Cinemas every day till they finally caved and gave him
Oh
the
wow.
job.
Okay.
Yeah, he really wanted to do this job
Huh.
to direct this movie for some reason. So,
Hey, got to get out there and get your foot in the door, I guess.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like he did a like I said, the cinematography
Yeah.
and just the overall feel of the movie, I feel like was right on par. Um, there was really only one effect that bothered me in this movie, uh, and that was uh, the smart girl. I can't Sheila
Sheila.
when
Yeah.
she falls asleep in the room because you have to have the kids fall asleep in the classroom. It's just a thing in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Right.
But when she falls asleep in the classroom, the whole thing where her arm gets sucked into
Oh.
the desk, and
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that it's bad for the time that it's made. It's just bad CGI that doesn't hold up to today's standards.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's kind of hard to be too negative about that because overall the effects in this movie are really good, as you pointed out. There's none of that kind of like really wanky stuff.
Yeah, most of it is yeah, like solid uh practical effects. That's the word I was trying to think of. They did a couple times where yeah, like you said, with her arm and when Freddy gets that hole blasted through his chest, kind of a green screen
Yeah,
effect, and not the best, but it worked. And then a cool effect of him just waving his arms in front of it and healing it completely. So
I
yeah,
think that's when he tells her he's immortal.
I
Yeah,
am forever. I think it was a term or no, it was immortal. Yeah,
yeah, I am immortal. Yeah, they're so overall the effects are really good. Like you said, good practical effects that they do in this movie.
yeah,
Um, Even the glove as a shark fin worked. Kind of a nod to Jaws. It was
yeah.
silly, but hey, um, not the first time we've seen that sort of effect in a movie.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, so what was your kill in this one?
All right. Well, it was the one like, and we're talking about practical effects, and whether it's not I think it's brutal kill actually because the final moment isn't necessarily like the best part, but all the build up. It's Debbie's, who was shown
Yeah.
earlier having a fear of, or just as anyone I guess would be pulling out I think she was like pork rind or whatever she was snacking on had a giant cockroach on it, and
Yeah.
stepped on it and really just emphasized how much she hates bugs. So when she was working out and Freddy shows up and like breaks her arms while she's lifting the weights and them to fall off to reveal cockroach arms, and then she's in a giant
Yeah.
trap and just like all that build up. And granted, like I said, then and it kind of makes sense. Freddy just squishes her in the trap, but all that like her
Yeah.
turning into a bug was, it has stuck with me probably more than most of the kills in Nightmare on Elm Street. And
Well, and
yeah,
just the scene where just the part where she's lifting weights and he breaks her arms is so
yeah,
cringy right there. It's worth it itself.
absolutely,
Um, Honestly, this was mine as well. But if we
right,
want to go with a 1B, I would throw in the waterbed scene
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
just
for
because
sure,
it's so iconic. Where he gets, as you alluded, he sees the girl that's on his poster. She kind of floats to the top of his waterbed, and then Freddy comes and pulls him under and
yeah,
drowns him in the waterbed.
yeah.
Which again, Freddy affecting real life through the dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I ain't gonna lie, like I saw that. I remember that scene being somewhere in my, well after this came out. Like, but what is one of the early nightmares on Elm Street that I saw, and I never looked at a waterbed the same since. I still think, like, not that you really see waterbeds anymore, but anytime I had seen one, I think about that. So it's always stuck with me. For
Yeah,
obviously nudity, sure, but also just it was like just to see that, and then all of a sudden Freddy bursts out of it and just drowns and stabs him, and then it's all right back to where it was. It's a creative kill.
yeah, it was a creative kill, and I don't know when I first saw this movie because I don't know. I feel like I must have skipped this movie and came back to it later.
Oh, okay,
Like I didn't necessarily see this one in order,
right.
but because I honestly believe that the next one that I'd seen was Dream Child, which I think is the next one we're
It
watching.
is, yeah. Yeah, I know I saw
So
3 and 4 back to back. Somehow, like I probably rented them or something, or someone had them, and we watched those. 'Cause I always remember watching these two right back to back, even when I hadn't seen like part one yet. So,
and I only say that because I owned a damn waterbed at the time this came out. So
right.
yeah, senior in high school, my mom was super big on waterbeds, so she'd got us waterbeds, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. Now, of course, no, as you said, no one has them.
Yeah.
They went from the ones that are shown in this movie, the kind of 80s style waterbeds, to they went to the ones that are like regular mattress but feel like foam.
Right.
But now there's so much of the foam mattresses that they just don't do that anymore. So if they made a Freddy movie now, I'm not sure how he would kill somebody with a bed.
He'd affect their memory foam into himself, and yeah, like I made your bed lumpy, bitch.
Something like that for sure. So yeah. So anything else to add to this one?
Honestly, not because like again, to me, it's a very middle of the road film with some very good
Yeah.
effects and kills. So yeah, honestly, I think we kind of covered it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those that even the plot summary was fairly short because it's not that there's not things happening. It's just that the plot is like I said, I could have described all the kills, but go watch it.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I guess all that's left then is rating it. So you've said it a couple of times. It's middle of the road. So where does that put that for you?
Well, by the time it ended, I had written on my notes 3.5 stars. But then the song which played during Debbie's death and like she's working out, which turned out to be a
Yeah,
Fat Boys song, which I didn't know. I
yeah.
always forget. And then in the credits, Freddie starts rapping. So
Oh, yeah.
so
So
that
how
brought
did
it down
that
to a
work
three
for you?
star. That dropped it to a 3 star.
Kind of like the Turtles rapping and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
No,
2.
no, oh no, sir. Ninja rap is musical gold. You do not compare the two. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I gave this a 3 as well.
right.
Actually, it started off with a 2.5, but as we had talked through the movie, I went ahead and
Oh,
raised it to a 3.
yeah. As it
Um,
happens, you know.
well, I realized there were some things that I hadn't put together, and ultimately, had it not had the silly ending,
Right.
it probably would have rated higher to me.
Oh,
A nursery rhyme beating Freddy.
yeah,
But then
for
my
sure.
realization that maybe it's just what the characters believe is what kills them. So
Right.
ultimately, I went ahead and raised it to a 3. So that gives it a total of a 6, and I think that's a pretty fair
Yeah.
rating for this movie. It's a solid entry in the series, but it's not the best in the series,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
and I think that is indicated by that score. So, um, yeah,
Yep.
that's about all I got on it.
Yep. So again, not one. I mean, like so far we've only said one of the franchise that is skippable. So, but you can still get a solid viewing experience, I think, from just one, three, and four. So again, right
Absolutely,
now we have a pretty good Nightmare trilogy overall. And
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah, if you're not inclined, you just want to watch the gold for what we've covered so far. And to be honest, with little spoilers, probably not going to get much better. Yeah,
Yeah,
you definitely
yeah,
got a good you definitely got a good trilogy with connections from Nancy up till now. Through to Debbie and or not Debbie Kincaid and all of them. You have one solid story that if this was the end, I wouldn't be mad. So yeah, that's go ahead.
as per most of these series, they go on longer than they should.
For sure. And y'all will find that out next week. So, but if you liked this week, please drop a comment down below. We always appreciate hearing from y'all. And as you know the drill by now, like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and stay tuned tomorrow. Stay tuned next week for yet another Nightmare on Elm Street. We'll catch y'all later.
Yep. Talk to you next week.